Hi folks, hopefully you can hear me okay. Thanks a million for joining us this morning. We are just going to run through a use case on Data Cloud and try to make that as practical as possible with a demonstration of the nuts and bolts of how we're actually bringing in data into Data Cloud, and indeed then how we can use it maybe for Marketing Cloud and into the Salesforce core platform as well. So just to start with an introduction, I am Finian Quinn. I'm the Business Development Director with Bluewave, and I'm joined by Cosmin. Cosmin, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Cosmin Aron, and I'm the Marketing Cloud Technical Lead at Bluewave.
So we'll start with the introductions. We're done, and I'm just going to go through some slides with an overview of Data Cloud, really more to prepare you for what Cosmin's going to show you in the technical demonstration then, just so you're familiar with some of the concepts and the landscape of Data Cloud as Cosmin steps through different features of the platform and steps of bringing in data, transforming, etc. So we'll go through that. I'll hand over to Cosmin for the demonstration then, and hopefully there'll be some questions at the end, but feel free to add any questions you may have into the chat here. To start off with, just a very high level of what Data Cloud actually is. So what it allows us to do, obviously it's a data platform built into the Salesforce platform. You can harmonize disparate data, unify profiles with related data, build insights on unified profiles, segment your data, and activate your data to drive various experiences. So there's a lot in there, and through the next number of slides, we'll try to unpack some of that. But ultimately, multiple data sources can be brought together. Those multiple data sources essentially can be broken up and applied into your own data model, a set data model in Data Cloud, where there's an out-of-the-box data model that we can supplement with a custom data model. If you know Salesforce and the Salesforce architecture, this should be very familiar to you as we go through it. We unify that data around a single individual then, and then once we do that, we can decide how we go and use that data then down the road. So hopefully we'll be able to demonstrate some of that to you as we go through. Also very important to state what Data Cloud is not. And we get these questions a lot around Data Cloud. It's not a tool for data cleansing, or is it an MDM or golden record? It doesn't tick a box for your data governance. It's not a backup system and a business intelligence platform. So what we're looking to do here is utilize data for our requirements. So it doesn't really necessarily solve any of these. They've parts of features of a lot of those type of systems, but it's not the core feature of Data Cloud. I really like this keyring metaphor here and diagram. I think what you can see here is that when we unify data around that individual, what we're doing is bringing in data from lots of different sources, whether that's our marketing database, our commerce database, other external systems, perhaps your service systems, your call centers, and then unify that data around one single individual. You're not losing any of those data streams. It just allows you to bring it together around a single individual. Some of the Data Cloud connections you can utilize, particularly in the Salesforce stack. You can have multiple instances of the Salesforce CRM, as we know, Salesforce Sales, Service, Experience Cloud, Field Service, etc. We can have multiple instances of that connected into Salesforce, and Cosmin will show you some of the how easy it is to connect Salesforce shortly. We can bring in multiple apps, for example, to watch behavioral data, bring that in. Just a quick note in Marketing Cloud, we can only bring in data from one Marketing Cloud instance. That's bi-directional as well. But obviously, anyone that knows Marketing Cloud will know you can have multiple business units within Marketing Cloud. So just a quick comment on those Data Cloud connections for Salesforce. And then the big picture, I guess, in terms of those connections, you'll see the Salesforce clouds and orgs at the top there. Multiple other data sources, including the likes of Databricks, and other data lakes such as Snowflake can also data can be ingested into Data Cloud. And what the aim is to bring all of that data together in a single picture in Data Cloud, and then we use that data as we go on. Some of the available ingestion methods, again, just for touching on those, we've got a number of reusable ingestion methods. You can see on the left column there, we don't need to go into all of them, but you can see Marketing Cloud, Salesforce CRM, various websites, mobile apps, SFTP, Interaction Studio, Ingestion API. We've got other connections such as Amazon S3, which you'll actually be using today along with Salesforce and Marketing Cloud, and then other installed data kits and packages. Important to note, MuleSoft's Anypoint Exchange, Anypoint connector for Salesforce Data Cloud enables to automate data ingestion from third-party platforms as well. So MuleSoft working with Data Cloud is a very powerful tool, and certainly if you're a MuleSoft customer, it's something that I think definitely you should be considering. A couple of different ways in terms of the ingestion API of getting data in. We've got bulk and streaming ingestion. So typically your bulk ingestion will be your large files that aren't that urgent in terms of how frequently we bring in that data. So we can bring in files from maybe unsupported file systems, fixed width files, non-comment eliminated, etc. And then your streaming ingestion really is more for often behavioral data, clickstream events, profile change events, order status events. So kind of near real-time data we want to react to. Also, and it's something we'll share links for as well, there's a lot of buzz around the zero-copy data and what it allows you to do. But ultimately, with zero-copy data, Salesforce has built partnerships with the likes of Google, Azure, etc., AWS, and essentially allows you to virtualize and view data in Data Cloud without actually importing the data and having it at rest in Data Cloud. This allows you then ultimately to run your queries, your segmentation, etc., utilizing data in your other platforms without having to, as I say, bring it in and have it at rest in Data Cloud. Quite a powerful tool and really does, I think from our perspective, up the level of functionality, because ultimately, if you can utilize the data, you can then take actions off it, potentially down in the Salesforce CRM, as well as in your marketing stack. Just in terms of the structure of Data Cloud, worth noting that we have within Data Cloud a feature called Data Spaces. Again, if you're familiar with maybe business units in Marketing Cloud, it's not that dissimilar in that it allows us to bring our data into Data Cloud and perhaps segment that data out for different brands, etc. So really just separate, not quite instances within Data Cloud, but certainly allows us to bring in different data models into Data Cloud in one single instance. Just to go through some of the objects, because as I say, Cosmin will be touching on all of these as we go through. So data source object, an object of data ingested as is from the original source. So again, we'll see how that's done. Original file format, such as a CSV, pulled in. When a data stream then is created, then we pulled in your data from your data source. We automatically create a data lake object then. And then we can do a small bit of transformation as we create that data lake object. And then we take that data lake object and then we map it to our data model object. In terms of harmonization of that data, so when we pull in that data, we can then look to map the data as it comes in. So we've got our data source models here. We can see if we take, for example, e-commerce and marketing, we may have an individual in both. But what we're doing is as we pull that data in, we're going to map it to our data model in Data Cloud. So as the first names come in, we map them, date of births, email addresses, etc. So we're gathering up the identifiable information from these individual systems and mapping it to a single individual object. And then pulling out other identifiable information, such as your email address, and pull that in and start to create that on our contact point email object in Data Cloud. So this enables identity resolution and creation of a unified profile. It makes it possible to find relationships between distributed customer data from all your systems of record. So really what we're saying there is when you do this mapping and run your identity resolution, it'll gather all that data up and center it around that individual you've mapped it to. And that's what then allows you then to start to utilize that data more effectively. It will allow us then, of course, within Data Cloud to start looking at insights into that data, so we can start to look across the various data tables that are brought in and start to calculate insights from the data. And again, we'll have a look at how we do that in Data Cloud shortly. Just to touch on what identity resolution is, it's a process of managing identities by matching emerging data about individuals into a data set known as unified profiles, which can be visualized as the key ring we looked at earlier. It combines data from those various sources and creating that unified data set. And it's important to say, keeping the key ring in mind, it retains all information related to individuals and their lineage. So as it comes in and you're mapping, it doesn't mean that you're losing that data. It just means that we're unifying it around a single individual. Apologies. And there, just a visual representation of that. We can see multiple identity sources here being mapped to identity resolution using matching rules and reconciliation rules. So we can build those rules to say if emails match, if first name match, etc., then that's the same individual. Let's pull that data around that individual. Generates a unified profile for us and shows that individual and all of that related information we've brought in. The unified profile we've already had a look at, but again, just a definition really. A unified profile contains customer data reconciled across multiple sources as a single record. Something else to bear in mind, and we'll have a look at this shortly, Data Cloud Insights. So we've got calculated insights and streaming insights. So just to differentiate between the two of those, calculated insights are used to query and create complex calculations based on stored data. So for example, customers have spent more than 1,000 in the past and currently have more than 200 in their shopping cart. So we can start to have a look across data sets to find that value. And then streaming insights are queries based on real-time data, perhaps using the ingestion API. Example, send a coupon to customers who have not entered a store recently but are within 5 miles currently using geofence data. So that's more instant, if you like, in terms of how we react to that information. We can then segment different data sets, if you like, to target audiences for action. We can filter data to create useful buckets. And then also, why would we do that? It's really to send the right message at the right time to the right audience. More a marketing feature in terms of that segmentation piece, but lots of other use cases as well. We can look at data actions then as well, segmentation. So we're going to drive events using streaming insights. Number of ways to do that. So just to say, data action targets are destinations where the results of a data action can be triggered. So such as a webhook, an event-driven API target, Salesforce platform event, importantly, the core event was used to build a flow application. We'll have a look at that later too. And then Marketing Cloud, so we can send an email or Journey Builder API event directly from Marketing Cloud. We'll also have a look at how we can use a triggered flow in Salesforce using Data Cloud data. So again, in the sense of Salesforce core platform, we don't need to have the data at rest in Salesforce to take triggers from it, create tasks, create records, notifications, whatever it may be. I think this is one of the most powerful for anybody in utilizing Salesforce CRM, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Experience Cloud. We can start to react to data that's brought into Data Cloud in Salesforce, on the Salesforce platform, without having to pull the data down from Data Cloud. I'm going to show you that shortly. In the Salesforce CRM, then we also have a number of pre-built components. Again, we'll have a look at this shortly, where we can pull down data from Data Cloud into components, into related lists, etc. So look, we'll have a look at those shortly too. Just a comment, Data Cloud free SKU is available to everybody. You'll have it in your Salesforce CRM, and we'll give you, we'll share the spec with you afterwards, so some of the what's included in that, the limits of that, etc. Okay, so just to comment on what Cosmin is going to show you in a moment in terms of the actual setup of the demonstration. So what we've pulled together, we have some customers we've spoken to about, and we're using, let's say, a car brand and their dealership network as an example here, but really this could be any data, and hopefully it'll just spur some ideas to anybody that is looking for use cases within their business, something we can talk to you about on a more individual basis. What we've done is we've got a core Salesforce CRM. Within that CRM, we're using Sales Cloud in this instance, and we have a set of contacts and a set of cars. We've generated some dummy data. I think we've got about 50 to 100,000 contacts in there, related cars, etc. We used a platform to generate dummy data sets. We're using that and bringing that data into Data Cloud. We've also hooked up a Marketing Cloud account into to send data to, or indeed ingest data from, if we wish. And then we're also using Amazon an S3 bucket today. And how we're breaking that out is we've got in theory, a car finance system within the car brands enterprise stack. We've got a dealer management system where each dealer might use to manage the servicing of vehicles, their customers, etc. And we'll obviously have multiple dealers in our network. And then also an insurance system where we have contacts and insurance as well. So it's really just to talk to you about how potentially all of these separate systems could be brought together in Data Cloud, unified around a particular individual, and we'll go from there in terms of how we use that data then. Okay, at this stage, I'll actually hand over to Cosmin. Cosmin, maybe you'd like to pick up the demonstration from here around that particular setup we have in place.
Sure, thank you, Finian. Right, so Finian, can you let me know if you can see my Data Cloud screen? Okay, perfect, thank you very much. So yeah, this is the Data Cloud user interface. So for those of you that are familiar with Salesforce CRM, Sales, or Service Cloud, you will find this screen very familiar too. So 1 second, because I think it's something. Here you go. Thank you, sorry about that. So yeah, this is the Data Cloud's user interface. And yeah, the first thing that I would like to show you, based on like what Finian has presented throughout his slides, I would like to show the Data Cloud setup. So the first screen here, where you can see the data sources, so the data that you can bring in from external platforms or platforms from the Salesforce ecosystem, such as the Salesforce CRM, Sales and Service Cloud, Commerce Cloud, Marketing Cloud Engagement, and Marketing Cloud Personalization as well. Here you can define the data spaces too. So the data spaces are a logical partition to organize the data for profile unification, insights and marketing, and you can segregate the data, metadata and process into categories such as brand, region, and department, and enable users to see and work only with the data within the context of their category. In regards to the integrations that we have available, we have a multitude of connectors that we can use out of the box. And I would like to show you actually the Salesforce CRM connector and the Marketing Cloud Engagement connector too. And also we have a connection to an Amazon S3 bucket. So for the Salesforce CRM, we already, before this demo, we already connected the instances. So as you can see here, we've got the Bluewave Technology instance, we have the org ID in here, and this allows us to bring data from Service Cloud straight into Data Cloud. And also we have a connection to Marketing Cloud Engagement. So again, it's very easy to establish this type of connection. You just need to use a user on the Marketing Cloud side, which is an API user, and that allows you to shake hands between Data Cloud and Marketing Cloud if you'd like. Then you can also bring in data, like there are a number of out-of-the-box data bundles that you can ingest into the Data Cloud, and I'll show you that in a second. You can also define whether you want to do profile business unit mapping, and also you can select the business unit to activate. So the activation target essentially on the Marketing Cloud side, which means that the data that you segment on Marketing Cloud, on the Data Cloud, can be activated on Marketing Cloud using Journey Builder, for instance, or for any other use cases. So once we had a look at this integrations in here, then we can go into Data Cloud and we can go to the data streams. So let's do that quickly. I'm gonna type in Data Cloud here into the app launcher, and I'm back into the Data Cloud. So in here into the data streams, I already have some of the data flowing into Data Cloud already. So I have the contact data and the card data from the Salesforce CRM. But I also have a number of files that are coming in from my Amazon S3 bucket. So on this screen here, I can see the names of my data streams. I can see the data connected that is used, the stream type, when was the last run, and how many records were processed, and when the data was last refreshed. So for example, if I want to bring in more data, let's say from the CRM, I have access here to my connected sources. So in this screen here, I can select the Salesforce CRM as my connected source because that's already connected for me, as I've showed you in the previous screen. And here I have access to the data bundles. So I can pick from the standard data bundle. So I have a digital engagement data bundle, a sales and a service data bundle. So if I click for service, for example, this will show me the objects that I have available as part of this bundle. So account, agent work, case, email message, group, etc. But also, if let's say these data bundles are not sufficient for my use cases, then I also have access to all of the objects here. So I can search for any of my Salesforce objects that are in my instance, and then I can bring that into a Data Cloud as a data stream. And also for the Marketing Cloud, I would like to show you the Marketing Cloud connected source as well. So very simple here. Right, so again, I have access to some standard data bundles here, like the Email Studio, the Mobile Connect, Mobile Push, and also I have access to data extensions, which is very important because I can bring in data from any given data extension that is available in my business unit. So here I can simply select the business unit that I have connected to Data Cloud, and here I have access to the data extension. So I can have access to the folders, and inside the folders, I have access to all the data extensions in there. And then very simply, if I want to bring a data extension in, I can simply give it an object label and an object name. I can go and click here next. And this gives me access to all the fields that are available in my data extension. So here I can apply some little data transformation too if I want to, because as you can see here, I can apply formula fields. And for example, if I have, I don't know, maybe I want to format the text of my first name, I can simply apply a transformation formula here and put that data into Data Cloud, into a normalized format. And very important, when I bring in a new data stream, I have to select a category for the type of data. So there are three big categories here that I can choose from. So I have the profile category, which is represent an individual account or other profile data, and these data will be used for segmentation and analytics. Then the second category is the engagement one, and this contains behavioral information such as, you know, web purchases, website visits, clicks, etc. And I have the other category here, which contains information that is not really related to profile or engagement information. It can be like, you know, dealer location, product or store information, or it can be a combination between profile and engagement. So, you know, based on the use cases, it's very important to define what type of what category should your data fall into.
Cosmin, just to ask you a quick question on that there,
Sure.
particularly on that new formula field. So what you're saying there is, as you're pulling data in from a data source, and that's true for any data source, you can look at the fields that are coming in from that data source and actually generate new data and place that in the field. For example, you could have a number of purchases, for example, you could sum them up and put them into a new field saying total purchases, something like that. And that's as you pull that data in.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. Even like creating like a unique identifier. Let's say if my data doesn't contain a unique identifier, then I can use a formula field and I can generate one using a combination of the data that is available plus some hard-coded values, etc. Right. So yeah, these were the data sources, the data streams. And the next step in this workflow, if you like, so once I have the data, once I ingested my data from a data source, then my data will go into a data lake object. And here at the data lake object level, I have access to the data mapping. And this is a very important step because it allows me to map my data from my data source to the data model entities that are available in Data Cloud. And here I have a number of entities, so I can have the standard Data Cloud ones, but I can create custom data model entities according to my use case. So I'm going to show you very quickly how we mapped the contact data from the system contacts, from the finance system contacts from AWS into the Data Cloud entities. So I have here the contact point address, the contact point email, contact point phone, the individual entity, and also the party identification entity. So on the left-hand side, I have the data from my data source, so the address line 1, address line 2, city, country, etc., email address, the system contact ID, which is also the primary key on the data stream. And here on the right-hand side, I have the data model from Data Cloud, and I'm mapping the fields accordingly. So as you can see here, you've got the if I click on any of the mappings, you can see how the address line from my data stream is mapped to the address line from the contact point address. How my primary key, which is the finance contact ID, is mapped to the primary key of the contact point address data model entity, and the same goes for the contact point email. And here I have the email address map and the party. The same on the contact point phone, so the unique identifiers are mapped, and also I have my formatted phone number, and also have my party map too, and the individual, where I have the first name, the last name, and I also have the individual ID. And here on the party identification, I have the mapping done for the identification name, identification number, the party identification ID, and the party identification type. In this scenario here, the party identification type is the finance system contact ID, and the unique identifier for this is the party identification ID.
Cosmin, the reason we're doing this, and I know this is all clicks, we're not coding anything here, but the reason we're breaking this out in this way is that when we come to resolve the identity that we'll look at later, Data Cloud can look across all of these mappings. So this mapping we'll do again for the dealer system, we've done for the Salesforce object. So essentially, we can have a look at a number of different identifiers for an individual: name, surname, phone numbers. They might be different on different platforms, but if ultimately we can find enough commonality across them, then we can say, right, that is the same person. Let's bring all of that data around for that individual.
Yeah, exactly. That's like, this is the mapping that we need to do in order to proceed with the identity resolution. So ultimately, the goal here is to bring the data from multiple sources and unify that data and have it under the same unified profile. So again, for example, in this scenario here, we've got the finance system, like what I'm showing here on the screen. We've got the finance system contact data that is mapped to contact point address, contact point email, contact point phone, individual and party identification. And then if I go back here, I can show you that the contact data is mapped to those objects as well. And that's how you can find that commonality that you mentioned. And that's how we can resolve these multiple identities to a single profile. So again, here, as you can see, this is the contact data that comes from Salesforce and is mapped to contact point address, contact point email, phone, and individual too. So once I have this data mapped, then I have access to, I can explore the data. I can see exactly what I have in all these entities. So for example, if I go here to the Data Explorer, I can select the object that I want to explore. So it can be a data lake object or a data model object. So I can show you one of each. So if I go with the data lake object, and let's look at the contact, for example. And there we go. Here I have access to the birth date, the phone number, and the contact ID. And there are a number of fields that I can visualize in here. I can edit the columns if I'd like to. So if I want to bring more information here, like the email, for example, and I just need to remove a few here. So let's see if we go buyer attributes and business phone, and instead of that, I can bring email address and the first name, and then we can look at that as well. There we go. So now I have the contact ID, I have the email address, and I have the first name. So this is a nice tool where I can explore the data from my objects. And also I can explore the data from my data model object. So the last step in the mapping flow, if you'd like. So again, let's look at the contact again. And we can do like contact point address, for example, because we mapped the data that we have from Salesforce and the data from AWS, we mapped it to the contact point address. So here you've got the address line, the city, you have the contact point address ID, and then here I can see the data source. So where is my data coming from? So on the screen here, as you can see, most of the data is coming from my Salesforce CRM. Right, so now we can go into the identity resolution quickly and have a look at that. So the identity resolution, when you create a new identity resolution and define the new set and you publish it, usually takes a few minutes to run. So we've done that in advance. So we, without having to spend a lot of time for that identity resolution to run. But I can actually show you the match rules that we use, and we can show you the reconciliation rules as well. So as I said, we've got data coming in from multiple sources. There might be a match on the name, there might be a match on the email address. So for this reason, we have the match rules in here. So we want to define how do you want that, how do we want to determine how the, how source profiles should be merged together. So you've got a few options in here. So we can add, there are some, there are some out of the box options that you can use, such as the, the fuzzy methods, but you can also add your own criteria. So in our use case, we've said that we want, from the individual object, we want to match in the first name using the fuzzy medium precision methods, and also we want to do an exact match on the last name, and we want to do an exact match on the normalized email address. And here, once this was processed, on the right-hand side here, we have the number of the total unified profiles. We have our consolidation rate. But then also here, we can specify the reconciliation rules. So, the match data sources might provide different value for a single field. And with the reconciliation rules, we can specify how to select the best value for that to, to save the unified profile. So for example, if you look like at the individual, as a quick example here, so for all these fields here, we have the reconciliation rules as the source priority. For contact point email, again, the reconciliation rule is on the last updated value. And that's how you can edit these things if you'd like. You can select the order, so you can define which one is the source priority. Is the source priority my contact data in is my source priority my contact data in Salesforce, or is my source priority the data in the finance system I need to define which one I believe it to be the most accurate one.
So Cosmin, just on that one, what we're saying is that if we have, I don't know, 2 different email addresses across 2 systems, we can say, well, look, it's the most recent updated data set we're going to use as the actual email address we'll use, perhaps if we're sending out a message, and it's giving a priority to saying the specific contact point that we want to use, let's say when we're activating that data later on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if I know that let's say my finance system is more reliable when it comes to like contact information, I can specify that, and I can say I would like you to take the email address from that system as a priority to the email address that comes from my contact data in Salesforce, or the other way around. Right, so that was on the identity resolution, and now we can quickly look at a segmentation use case. And for that, I can go here into my segments, and I can create a new segment. And I have a few options here. I can use a visual builder, I can build a standard segment, I can create a waterfall segment or a real-time segment. So for this one, I'm going to use the visual builder and a standard segment. The data space, again, I only have one data space, so I'm going to select default. And I want to segment here on the unified individual. So I want the unified individual object is a derived object which stores my unified profile. So all the data sources that I merged are now in my unified individual segment. So I'm gonna call it demo. And I have 2 options here. I can use a standard publish, and for this one, it's gonna use the last 2 years of engagement data, or I can do a rapid publish, and this one is gonna use the last 7 days of engagement data. So I'm gonna do a standard publish. I can also have a publish schedule. So if it's a one-off segment, I can say do not refresh, and I can go ahead and create this. And now I have this nice segment editor in here, and I have access to the population. So I can see here I have almost 35,000 individuals in here. And I have access to the direct attributes that come from the unified profile, such as birth date, created date, like the first name, last name, the title. And also I have the related attributes. So the related attributes that come from the other data streams that I brought into Data Cloud. So if for example, I can say that I would like to retrieve a population of, like, let's say Volkswagen owners. So I can drop here the car make, and I can type the value Volkswagen. There we go. And also this is information, so this is car information, but then I also want to bring to add another criteria here, and I'm looking for the, sorry, there we go, the finance system data. Right, so from the finance system data, I would like to say that the finance product is not equal to loan. There we go, does not contain loan. I think loan is a value that I have. I need to double check. If not, we can change that. So now I hit done. So essentially I want to create a segment where of individuals that own a Volkswagen, and according to my finance data, the finance product is not a loan. So I'm going to save this, and this should run in a few moments.
So Cosmin, this is where we're starting to see the power of Data Cloud, is that we're now able, because we've brought in those different data streams, unified them around an individual, we now can start to build target segments of our customer base, or our base of contacts to use appropriately without, again, having to build integrations to do that. We pull their data in, and now we can start to build audiences and take those audiences and either maybe send them to Marketing Cloud or to any other external system as a list to target, maybe for a customer journey.
Yeah, sure. Right. That's exactly what it is. I just need to make a quick update here because I don't think loan is actually a product. So I think it's a lease that I have. So let's check. Let's run this again. If not, we can look at the exact data in a second, but I think it's lease. No, it's not that. Let's just, yeah, let's just, it's spelled correctly. Let's see if I can do Volkswagen only. There we go. That's it. So, sorry, I think I just need to look at the finance products again because I can't remember off the top of my head the exact values that are in there, or I can use the Data Explorer to look at that, but just to kind of like for the demo purpose. Here I've just created the segments of all individuals that we have in our system that have a Volkswagen car, essentially. So then I can save this segment and I can publish it, and once it's published, then it can be used for activation. So I can send the segment to an external platform for activation, like you know, I can send it to Marketing Cloud, and I can trigger a specific journey for Volkswagen owners. I can also create here the one, I want to talk a little bit about the calculated insights, because once the data is available, I can derive multidimensional calculations from the data, so that then that data can be used for segmentation as well, but it can also be used for personalization if you'd like to use those calculated insights and send those segments for activation externally. So from this tab here, I can go to the calculated insights, and I can create, I can just create one using the data that is available to me. So I have a number of options here. I can create using SQL expression, I can create from a package, I can create a streaming insight, or I can create it from a data kit that was previously installed. Just for the demo today, we're going to create this using the Visual Builder. So you can see, again, we're going to have a calculated insight. And we can select the object on which we want to create a calculated insight. And let's do the finance object on this occasion. On the right-hand side, I can see all of the available fields. And I can start building my calculated insight. So first I need to do a join. I need to join my unified individual. And this will should create 3 additional joins for me. So one will be the unified individual, one will be the individual, and one will be the unified individual link. Then the next step in this process, it can be like an arithmetic expression. So I can perform a little calculation here. So what I can do, I have access here to all the fields. So we can look at the, we can calculate like the monthly installments, for example. So we can do that by looking at the financed amount, and we can divide that by the monthly, the loan terms in months. So we can call this like monthly installments. Go, and I can apply here. The next one, the next step here will be a aggregate node. So I want to aggregate the monthly installments. I want to do the sum of monthly installments. And I also want to do the balloon amount as well. I want to do the sum of the balloon amount. Okay, and then I need to select a dimension, and it will be my unified individual. Right. And the last step here in my builder will be a case. So what I would like to do, I would like to have a condition when the monthly statements are less than or equal to 1,000, and the balloon amount is greater than £15,000, I can say that this is a high risk credit. I think 1 second, because I need, yeah, that's the one. So monthly, very good. Right, so okay, and then for the else condition, I want to say low risk. Right, I can save and run this. Apply, sorry, credit risk factor. There we go, forgot to give it a name. Right, now I can save and run. Inside is credit risk factor. And I want it to refresh every hour, for example. I can hit enable. And I can also publish this. It'll take a few minutes, and yeah, then it should perform the calculations for me for those individuals, and it should be able to tell me whether they have a high risk credit or a low risk credit. So yeah, that was the demo on the Data Cloud side. So now I'm going to hand over to Finian for the Salesforce side. So I'll show you how this data can be also be used in Salesforce.
Okay, thanks, Cosmin. I'll just jump across some screens here. So hopefully you can see we're back in Salesforce here, and I've just picked a particular contact record here, Angela Kirk. So basic contact record, but I just wanted to run through some of the things we can do in relation to getting the data into Salesforce and using it within Salesforce. So if we look here, we can see a fairly standard page, as I said. So I'm going to have a look here at how we can edit the page. So very standard Lightning builder here. And we'll have a look at some of the components that we can pull onto the page out of the box from Marketing Cloud. One of the things on the left-hand side here, you can see Data Cloud profile engagements. So what we might do is pull over a component and pop it over here. We're going to have a look at, let's see, match on contact ID. And again, for any Salesforce admin, we're going to pick the default data space in Data Cloud. This is all pre-filling for me as I go through. Okay. And we're going to have a look at our finance loan system here, because I think that's the only one we set up as engagement. So we're going to pull that component on, and we're going to see what we can see there. We can already see there's a finance loan showing there, again, directly from Data Cloud, and also maybe one of the insights that Cosmin's just built, the Data Cloud Profile Insight. So we'll pull over here and put a component on the screen here. Again, we'll have a look at contact ID, select the data space, kind of rinse and repeat from what we've already done. Calculated insight, we'll have a look at that credit risk factor that Cosmin has just put in. We'll hopefully see a calculated insight showing up here for us as well. So now you can start to see that without, as we can see fairly quickly, we can just pull down the data yet. As Cosmin's just said to me, it may not have run yet in terms of the calculated insight that he's just built, but it is there and available already, as you can see. The other thing we can do then is pull down, perhaps I'll just bring up the details page here, is potentially bring on some related lists. So our standard related lists in Salesforce, if I go down here and we'll have a look at related lists here, I'm going to pick a related list single. I'm going to pull on related lists here. So now we can start to visualize the data. If we have a look at that component here, what do we want to show in it? So we'll use this contact. And now we're going to go and find some of the records that we have in Data Cloud. So we can see, let's have a look at the dealer management system records here. We'll add that on as a related list. We'll save that. We'll pull on one more as well, related list single. We'll add on another one down here in the data record. Use this contact, and perhaps we'll look at the finance system in this one. Okay, and we can see if they have any loans going. So as you can see, as a Salesforce user, maybe in Sales Cloud or Service Cloud, we can start to get a picture of our contact now based on that data we pulled together up in Data Cloud without a lot of effort, really just clicks here in terms of pulling those data in and showing it on the page. So somebody taking a call perhaps or calling out. So let's go back here. Hopefully that's saved for us. We'll go back to our contact here and have a look at it, see what we can see. So let me just go back into Angela here, and hopefully we can see now on the details page, we can see over here, activity, there's our finance loan, and we can see low risk. It's already run for us in terms of her rating. Down the bottom here, then we've pulled on a related list here. We can see there's a record in the DMS here, and we can change the fields we want to show in the summary here, and indeed the finance system here. We can see balance owing, finance amount, outstanding payment amount, etc. So we can start to pull that down pretty easy, and any admin really can change these fields here and show what we can do. The last thing I'd like to show in Salesforce is how we can start to use the data for triggers down in Salesforce using Salesforce Flow. So if we dive into our screen here, I'll have a look at flows, and we can obviously build a new flow. So when I go into building a new flow, we'll start from scratch in this one. We can see here we already have available to us out of the box Data Cloud trigger flow. So we can go into Data Cloud trigger flow, create that, and quite easily we can see here we've got access to Data Cloud, and there's our default data space again. Now we can start to look at our objects that we've created up in Data Cloud, and we can start to take some triggers off that. So if we took the DMS record, for example, and maybe we can have a trigger that's informing our Salesforce users that maybe when 6 months has passed from a service date, we want to set up a task perhaps for them to call out to see if we can get that service in. That might be linked in with a marketing journey where they've already been contacted by email or text or whatever, and really the resulting ones then we just want to put a phone call in. But just to give an example, so what we can do there is build that flow. We can see here I've built a decision split here, just showing the various steps that we want to have a look at, followed by creating a task here. So ultimately what we can do is pull that data in, use it without, again, having it at rest in Salesforce, and then take actions from that in our core core Salesforce platform without having to build up storage and utilize storage limits. So where we don't have to have the data sitting at rest in Salesforce, it's a great solution for taking actions from Data Cloud without having to do full integrations, for example. So from there, just wanted to finish on a couple of points there. So if I pop into the slideshow here, hopefully you can see that okay. Other than bringing in individual lists from the components there we just showed you in terms of the out-of-the-box components, we can, for example, you can see, albeit a little bit blurry on the left-hand side, we can build a Lightning web component for you customly or in a custom fashion, where you can actually start to bring a lot of that data we looked at together into one component to give you a quick view of a customer, for example, in a call center, service center, whatever it may be, or indeed in outbound sales. The last thing I'd just like to touch on, one of the things you've hopefully seen from Cosmin's demonstration is that most of the building of Data Cloud, indeed all of the building that you saw of Data Cloud that Cosmin has been through, is clicks, not code. Where we've found from our experience, the work is very much in the planning and the design of your data model, having a look at your data sources, and then understanding what use cases may be relevant to your organization. So Bluewave do have a Data Cloud lab that we'll be delighted to work with you on, where we can work through your potential use cases, work through your source data and how you could use that. If that's something you're interested in, do get in touch with us. We'd be delighted to have a conversation with you about how we can spend time mapping out some use cases and indeed prepping you for a potential Data Cloud implementation. Again, this is something that we have. I will share this with any attendees to go through what we do. But ultimately then we'll come back with a readback for you, going through the use cases and a high-level plan, gap analysis, etc., about how we can start to deliver Data Cloud with you. That really concludes our webinar today. So I would be more than happy to take any questions or follow up with you afterwards if you have any questions that you'd like to ask us today. Okay, if we don't have any questions coming in, I'll have to assume that's reasonably clear in terms of what we've demonstrated. But again, please do get in touch if you have any questions you would like us to answer specific to your own potential use case. We'd be delighted to spend some time with you talking about that and how Data Cloud could potentially help your organization.